I'm Patrick Odin, and I'm an assistant professor of theology at Fuller Theological Seminary. And I'm also part of the team at Fuller who have been given the important tasks of designing the digital training library. Let me say I'm very excited about this project. I love teaching theology. I love teaching seminary students. But the joy of this project is taking the experience and technology and training we have and spreading it wider than we could possibly imagine to men and women all over the world who have been given this important calling of translating Scripture into their languages. The idea that God can reach out to us, that God can speak to us, that God can enter into this world as a person and speak a language and interact with people is itself amazing. And then He gives us teaching. And this teaching has been translated in so many different ways through so many years. And every time we translate it, it's this invitation to continue the mission of God to all peoples and all tongues and all nations. It's our exciting task to put together a training library of courses and content. This is a challenge, to be sure, because in doing this, we're doing a number of things that have never been done before. First, we're asking a lot of different organizations like yours to come together with other organizations in sharing this teaching and training, collaborating in a united front. Isn't that not a testimony of the communion of the Spirit that gathers together people from all different sorts of backgrounds and tasks into this shared mission? I'm excited about that. But because this is a challenge, because so much of this is new, we're faced with some really interesting realities. We know how to teach online. We know how the technology works. But in this task of helping translators on the ground means taking a lot of information from a lot of different directions and putting it together in a cohesive way that reaches out broadly. There's three elements of this that we are, at this point, really intent on gathering together. In these early stages, as these courses are coming together and as we're plotting out what comes next, we need one, content. Now, the content of this is being drawn from the Content Selection Committee, and it reflects teachings and courses that are already being done in your various organizations. And so part of the role of this committee is to gather the best courses to plot out the path of what a whole certificate program would look like. So that's step one. That's underway. So we're being given the content. Invitations will be going out later for more content, and we're not designing new content for this. But the other two are what this present invitation concerns. So the first thing we need is content, and that's been taken care of. The second thing we need is to understand, where are our learners starting from? What are they bringing to the table? What are the skill sets they have? Why did you hire them? Why are they part of this? And to explain, what are the traits, what are the skills, what are the talents, what are their contributions, even in their earliest stage. So that would be our starting point. They're part of your organization now, but you don't want to leave them at that starting place. You want to have them develop in a way that matures and develops both their skill as a translator and their skill in working and leading others. And so the second part of this is we want to know, what is an ideal translator like? What is someone who is really doing the job as well as you can imagine? That if you had an organization full of these kind of people, you would be on top of things. What is that person like? What are the traits they have? What are their skill sets? And so if we know where we're beginning, and if we know where we're ending, then we can form a trajectory. We can say, this is how we have the content that we're using, and this is how we're going to organize this content over the course of a single module and over the course of many modules to bring a learner from their beginning to their maturity. But even that is not enough. Having taught online courses for a number of years now, I know that having great content is essential. I also know that understanding the path from someone new to the content to the learning outcomes of what you want to have them learn by the end is important. And in understanding those two things, you can put together types of teaching. You can organize assignments. But even if those things are in place, you can still miss the mark if you don't know your audience. And so there's a third element to this that we're asking you to participate in responding to the questions that we've sent out. Tell us about your translators. Having a list of traits and qualities is good, but it's also impersonal. It also removes the living experience of translation and puts it into more of a theoretical box. And we all know that while that may help us understand, that's not really essential in communication. To communicate, we need to know who we're talking to. So I invite you to go beyond just listing traits and ideas. Yes, we want that, but to also share stories. Humanize this. Help us to understand the people in your organization that would be going through this. Help us to understand what are their lives like. What is their daily experience of technology? What are their challenges? What are their concerns? What is their learning level? So that we can take the content, organize a trajectory, and communicate it in a way that interacts with their living experience so that this isn't a burden, this isn't a frustration, this isn't a barrier, but that at every step, the content and the trajectory is an invitation to them, meeting them where they're at, empowering them in their context, helping them to see how what we're doing is helpful, not just to their brain, but to their calling. We have the content. So tell us, what are the skill sets that we're wanting to develop in our translators? And who are our translators? Tell us stories. Even if you're willing to tell a name, that would be great. Help this be a personal expression of the kind of people, not just the kind of people. Think of some people in mind who you say, once this thing gets going, I want them to go. Or this is a person who really is living out the kinds of things I want other people to train. The more that we have a sense of the real person behind the screens, the better every step will be in developing this digital training library to real people in real settings so that they can communicate the real message of God to their contexts. I'm excited about this project. I'm excited about this mission. I'm excited about how I can use my gifts and skills and training to help those all around the world. I'm excited that I'm hearing other people get excited about this. Thank you for your investment. Thank you for your time. And I so look forward to continuing to work with you to help this digital training library be the best possible experience for all involved. May God bless all you're doing.